Hi, everybody. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. And our friend, our brother, Andrei Martyanov is here with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, please subscribe and hit like button to helping us reaching more people. And let me start, Andrei, with what Mark
Yeah.
Rutte, the
Uh,
NATO Secretary General, said about Russia, China, Iran, and how capable is NATO in producing ammunition. And here is what he said.
In the future, Russia will remain a destabilizing force in Europe and the world. And Russia is not alone in its efforts to undermine the global rules. As you know, it is working with China, with North Korea, with Iran and others. They are increasing their defense industrial collaboration to unprecedented levels. They are preparing for long-term confrontation. We cannot be naive. We must be prepared. President Roosevelt famously said that powerful enemies must be outfought and outproduced. And that was in 1942. And the same can be said today. We call it peace through strength. We are already turning the tide on ammunition. Until recently, Russia was producing more ammunition than all NATO allies put together. But not anymore. Across the alliance, we are now opening dozens of new production lines and expanding existing ones.
Andrei, let me start with his first point. He says that the enemy, we have to be prepared for the enemy. Do you see the leaders in Russia, in China, in Iran, they saying that we have a common enemy, that's the United States, we have to go fight them, is there any sort of rhetoric in these countries that they see the United States as the enemy to fight the United States?
No, I mean, they correctly assess it because the United States is the enemy, and especially Europe, they're fanatical Russophones. And, obviously you have to be very realistic speaking about it. But the guy is absolutely delusional. You would expect the guy from the country which is pipsqueak, in economic and especially military terms. And he never ran anything larger than, I don't know, 7-Eleven store. So, and yeah, that's what they do. They go, purge the hot air non-stop, and he's in the exhibit A essentially of the person who, well, he's not self-aware really, or if he is, then I am sorry for his wife and his family, because he humiliates himself by parading himself as a clown. And so, but then again, those people don't have such concept as honor, decency and things like that, so they go out and lie. And what can I say? I mean, that's exactly what you have to expect from them. If you have the big guy, Mr. Trump, basically entertaining the rest of the world, and people are laughing hysterically. So what do you expect? What do you expect from these guys? Okay, as I already stated, Mr. Rutte never ran anything larger than 7-Eleven, because if you consider as I already stated, in real military industrial terms, what is Holland? Okay, so yeah, it's just pathetic.
Does he have any sort of evidence when he says that NATO is outproducing Russia in terms of
No,
ammunition?
it's complete. I mean, he pulls it out of his behind, and it's ridiculous. Fact is, NATO is incapable to outproduce Russia in terms of not only just ammunition, but in terms of the smart standoff weapons. It's not even in the same galaxy, and there are no prospects that Europe, uh, even together with the United States, can get anywhere near in terms of the production of the critical long range instead of weapons, which is Russia produces them by order of magnitude, not just by 2, 3, 5 times. Order of magnitude, that's minimum 10, probably more.
Yesterday, we've learned that the Russian president said that the new rhetoric of Donald Trump in terms of testing nuclear bombs is of concern
Yeah.
for Russia. Is a serious issue for Russia. Andrei, Donald Trump said in his interview on 60 Minutes, he said that Russia and China have been testing nuclear bombs. Is there anything to, I don't know, in English media by generals, any sort of evidence in Russia, anybody talking in China and Russia talking about these things? Or how does he know that they're, testing nuclear bombs, nukes, if there is no evidence out there? I have checked many.
Yeah.
There is no evidence. Nobody talk about these things.
Mr. Trump lies a lot. You probably heard that United States has the arsenal which can obliterate life around the world 150 times. So, it's, I mean, it turned into a complete circus. I mean, they don't understand these people. They embarrass themselves. They embarrass their countries. So, no, United States is continuing along the path of their basically destructing all kinds of their arms limitations and nuclear tests treaties. So, and this is done out of this desperation because you have to understand. And somebody tells Mr. Trump that, like launch of Minuteman 3 yesterday. Okay, it's normal. Countries do launch their ballistic missiles, and they need to confirm the basically validity of their fuels there, that they can fly, they can deliver the payload and things of this nature. It's normal. In terms of the testing, however, Trump obviously, as usual, he lies. Russia never violated this treaty. United States usually loves to break, and exit those treaties, and then suddenly recognize that it's lost the arms race. And so this is exactly what is happening, because this is more like of the, yet again, hot air to thinking that he can impress Russians, who are now 2 generations ahead in terms of weaponry, and especially since the latest announcements, which have been confirmed of the obviously successful completion of tests for Poseidon and Burevestnik. And now Mr. Putin on the 4th, 2 days ago, he comes out and says, we have now essentially the prototypes for the Mach 3 Burevestnik, which can be there indefinitely. And then, of course, it goes hypersonic. So, I mean, the United States literally has nothing to counter it with. It's just, it's the not obsolete, but it's still viable, but the credibility of American nuclear arsenal drops precipitously with each new weapon systems Russians produce. And it's not just the delivery systems. Again, do not forget, in terms of full-blown anti-ICBM, anti-MIRV capability, United States is not even in the same league. They have, United States, 30 GBIs, ground-based interceptors, which nobody knows if they even work. They will not intercept any kind of the hypersonic strategic weaponry. And while Russians already have the full-blown anti-ICBM capability, which of course is a serious hit on the credibility of the American nuclear arsenal. So it's not just that, revolutionary weapons with those, like Burevestnik are coming online. S-500, S-550, they are in full production. They are fully anti-ICBM capable weapon systems. And, S-500 have been actually tested in combat, and nobody talks about it. I know for sure it was tested and to a devastating result. But here is the situation where Trump has to present this public persona. This is what usually he does, because how do you counter this? But I'm on record, and now just what can I say? Maybe I'm being too arrogant, in this particular case, but I warned about it. For 10 years, the United States got itself into the competition with the country which actually knows how to fight wars and create the best military technology in the world. And so now suddenly everything is in the front of our eyes. Not everything, but we know what is going on. And so Trump needs to react somehow. And, it's akin to Eisenhower's reaction on Sputnik in 1957. But Eisenhower was, in many respects, correct that the United States is kind of getting there. And even Vladimir Putin mentioned that, they want to deploy this long-range hypersonic weapon, which still is not even an IOC. and they promise it by the end of this year. We are in the end of this year, and this weapon still does not fly properly. So, but other than that, that's the only thing they have. And what can I say? It is what I repeat ad nauseam. I have a blister at my tongue, on my tongue, saying this: United States lost the arms race by a knockout, and simple as that.
Andrei, you think that when it comes to we learned actually Oreshnik has been sent to the production. They're going to produce it to the battlefield, to be applied in the battlefield. But do you think that one of the reasons that Donald Trump he went that far talking about testing of nuclear weapons is because of they're behind Russia and China or other countries, because they cannot produce those vehicles, as you've mentioned, those vehicles to deliver the nukes? That's why he needs to go, to testing nuclear bombs instead of
it's not about delivery. It's more about the viability of the nuclear weapon charge itself. You need to, well, obviously it has a lot of ramifications in overall practical and scientific sense, that you can develop all kinds of the tricky, cheeky, and more powerful nuclear charges. This is primarily about having the capability to produce the weapon itself, the load, so to speak. So it's not about really delivery systems. Delivery systems is the thing, because you can still stick, at some very advanced delivery system, something which is technologically, design-wise, is from 1970s, and it's going to be as devastating if it would be, something new. But you need to constantly confirm that you have your nuclear arsenal is intact, that it can be actionable if, God forbid, that comes to nuclear exchange, and of course, all kinds of other scientific, as already stated, general purpose scientific things happening there. And United States has issues with its warheads, and so including also the issue with the plutonium and things of this nature. So it is kind of like knee-jerk reaction, although Russians already warned even last year that, yeah, we know United States is, getting ready to abrogate yet another treaty. So, and it's not surprise. Everybody understands what is going on. And the main task of all those actions is not just to return to what otherwise, however bad it is, but what otherwise would be considered the, arms race or what have you. United States lost the arms race, including in the nuclear, especially in the nuclear sphere. But it's all about PR. It's all about placating the hoi polloi like us, that saying that, oh, you see, we kind of, like, look at us, we're just gonna, continue to test nuclear weapons. The reality is, it is so bad for the United States that, as I already stated, it's not just one generation. The United States is lagging in the most delivery systems by 2 generations, if not more. And the disclosure of Burevestnik and of its capabilities, and disclosure of Poseidon, which is in serial production now, and yet another submarine, the carrier. Actually, it's not 6. Khabarovsk submarine is capable of carrying 12, and some say even more Poseidons. We're looking at the technological revolution in human history, because you have miniaturization of the nuclear reactors, which now allows you, as Vladimir Putin stated, don't listen to me, listen to him. It's all about now based on the moon. It's all about applying some of those critical technologies on the miniaturization and safety of the reactors to the space tags. We are entering the age of the exploring manned exploration of solar system. This is huge. The only thing which prevents us from now, which you can listen to Vladimir Putin at 2024 speaking to the students of famed MGTU, that, yeah, the work is on those materials which will allow to essentially defend the cosmonauts from radiation, obviously, once you get into the solar system. And so suddenly perspectives, which used to be decades and decades away, about mining, literally sci-fi stuff. Then suddenly you have things that, oh yeah, we can build a vehicle which will go, not only it will be powerful enough, but it will be able to go not insignificant fraction of the speed of light, 600 to 1,000 kilometers per second. Suddenly, your ability to reach Mars, anybody who thinks that Elon Musk rockets will get them to Mars, I have a bridge to sell them. Okay, cash payments only. I will give the where to drop off the cash. And so, but reality is that's where we are, and the impact of this is gigantic. You cannot go out now and say, oh my God, those damn Ruskies started the new technological revolution of the historic proportions. Russians know this. People who have any, basic education in physics, and they understand how significant it is. And that it's not only about weapons, albeit weapons are on the forefront, but even Putin himself stated, it is all about space in the end. It is all about getting to those enormous riches of the minerals and all kinds of other substances, so to speak, on the asteroids, or so. And then suddenly you have the capability to haul it back to the near Earth orbit and somehow deliver it to Earth. And we are looking at the new age in space exploration, and this is absolutely revolutionary. So, and that is why there is so many sore losers in the West. They just not in the game, realistically.
Well, what do we know about the Dark Eagle missile? And they're talking about sending them to Europe and Asia Pacific. And
we know what they tell us, that it works somehow. It did 2 flights. One of them was fully successful, as they say. Allegedly, it is the gliding body thing. Nobody knows what real velocity have been achieved. It's absolutely on the wraps because it doesn't work. And it wasn't working for the last 5 years. Remember, they were saying in 2020, we are about to deploy this, long-range hypersonic weapon, Dark Eagle, and they were deploying it ever since. Obviously, they carry all those, basically transport all those containers, which were supposed to have it. But reality is, even if it enters IOC, initial operational capability, Russians take it, seriously enough. That is why they have all kinds of the detection systems like resonance radar and all those S-500s and even S-400s latest missiles they can intercept it, and let alone S-300V4. So, but yeah, it's just the attempt to do something, to show that, oh yeah, we are also in the hypersonic race. Not really. Russia is already on the 2nd generation of the hypersonic weapons. And in this case, is it a threat? Yeah. How many will they produce? I don't know. 3, maybe 5. I don't know. That's about it. The reality is that they were facing a very huge technological hurdles, because doing some kind of the hypersonic maneuverable vehicle similar to Avangard, for example, oh boy, you require a lot more than 5 years, But they say, oh yeah, we're about to do this and that. Okay, we'll see. But for now, it doesn't matter that much. But if Europe wants to die, God forbids it comes down to it, they will be first to be turned into the parking lot.
The Russian Defense Minister Belousov said that the U.S. drills rehearsing preemptive nuclear strikes on Russian territory. What is that, Andrei? Where are they doing this? They're trying to prepare themselves in the United States, outside of the United States, in Europe. Where is that happening?
Oh, no. There is a very significant layer, so to speak, or strata in American political class who are fanatics. They don't understand war, as most of them they don't. Most Americans don't understand war. And they think within this paradigm of 1950s, the Cold War 1.0. So as I already say, fanatics. I mean, they are not common sense leaders. They are not common sense scientists, or for that matter, military people. And now especially, there is a lot of this gigantic bitterness there because the arrogance have been checked and they have been exposed for what they always were. United States is not good in terms of the combined arms operation. It cannot fight real serious war on the vast theater. And so the only thing the United States has are nuclear weapons, which at some point of time in 1950s, 60s, and 70s, it was leading the Soviet Union with that. Until the Soviet Union put online, basically this RS-18, I believe, there, which is the terrifying weapon called Voyevoda, also known as what did they call it? The Satan 1, the incredibly powerful ballistic missile, which was almost impossible to intercept. That's why Reagan's Star Wars came out, which was complete fantasy and cartoons, basically nothing more to it. And then, of course, Russians started to put to sea very advanced strategic missile submarines of their Project 941 and famous Delta Force, especially, which are 667 BDRM. So, and then suddenly it's just parity, it's complete parity. And then, but they, of course, missed completely the development of the cruise missile development in Russia. And now, suddenly, when even they thought that Soviet Union collapsed, Russia will disintegrate, will have access to, will install those regimes of the, traitors, and and we'll have access to everything we need, and Russians may die like, Plan Ost, Nazi Germany, pretty much the same thing. So, and then suddenly when they recognize that they are nowhere near, there's a lot of bitterness, and they always thought that for some reason they believe those cartoons, they believe those things, that they can somehow stop or mitigate a response strike of Soviet Union on the United States proper. They are not very bright people, those people, and some of them. So they lived in their delusion, this thing, that since 1980, since 1975, essentially. It was over. It was only the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1990s, that horrendous time in Russian history, that essentially Russians were slowed down in development of the systems, both anti-missile systems and missiles themselves. And then now when it arrived in full force, and many of those people, they were not believing that it's possible. Well, guess what? Not only it is possible, and then does the United States have anything like RS-28 Sarmat? No. Do they have anything strategic-wise as Avangard? No. Does it have anything similar to Bulava, sea-launched ballistic missile capable of carrying multiple maneuvering hypersonic blocks? No. So you begin to look at this, strategic type weapons. Then suddenly here it is. That's completely another story. What is Zircon 3M22? Hypersonic, well, anti-shipping. It's also land attack and missile. Is it strategic? Well, if you look attentively at the same as Vladimir Putin, and I quote him, where do you put Poseidon or Burevestnik? In what category? Are they strategic weapons? Yes. Can they be, let's say, operational level weapons? Yeah. You can load into the Poseidon, for example, those 20 tons of regular, what's the name of it, explosives, and the thing will just put itself underneath as aircraft carrier. God forbids that happens, okay? And it will just explode, and that will be it. It will be gone in seconds, So, and that will be not nuclear. So where do you put, how do you classify those weapons? How do you classify Burevestnik? They say doomsday, okay, whatever you call it, but it's completely new paradigm in warfare. That's the whole thing. You launch those, and Burevestnik is now goes into IOC, and then, as I already stated, you have then fully supersonic Burevestnik, if it comes down to it, and then hypersonic. What does that mean? In the what is called threatening or threatened period, you don't have to now do those things, like demonstrate or de-escalate things. You just launch a number of those Burevestniks and let them find them around the world. And they will be flying there, waiting for, God forbids, the command comes. If things come down, good. They fly back, splash down, or, they are recoverable, and there you go. Now, what kind of weapon is that? Strategic? Absolutely. It's completely new class. And obviously, Poseidon is a terrifying weapon, absolutely.
Andrei, with the militarization of Europe and the continuation of the war in Ukraine, do you think we are heading toward the very end of arms control? And
Yeah.
not only the treaties, I'm talking about the concept, which is
Yes.
so important.
Yes, we are already there. And here you have to understand, Europe cannot militarize, really. It doesn't have resources. It doesn't have industries. Well, Mr. Rutte may militarize himself during whatever he does in the night, in his bed. But the point is that Europe has been thoroughly demilitarized. And so goes for the United States, unless the United States begins to deliver what remnants of the actual first line, whatever is left there in terms of tanks or Bradleys and what have you. Patriot do not work. We know that. It's pathetic. So, and when you look at this, can they even, replenish this? No, they can't. That's the problem. Can they, for example, Europe alone, can it take the part in the arms race? No. They cannot produce the normal tank. I mean, they can produce mock-ups, that's for sure. Did you see what they achieved in the last, 20 years? No. I mean, it's really pathetic. Chihuahua militaries, which never fought anything. Operational-wise, we're looking at a complete different mismatch between officer corps in Russia, and especially the level of the general staff and operational commands, and whatever NATO has. They don't know how to fight modern war. They just don't. And you listen to their generals, and sometimes, and you begin to ask yourself a question: are they that stupid? And they are. That's the terrifying discovery. Those people are amateurs. They have been designed for the war of 1990s against, third world militaries like Iraq. And even there, they didn't do that well, actually. So, and as a result, where do we stay here? The Russians are nonchalant. Yeah, Vladimir Putin, when you read things, he is very calm. Everybody's calm. They just say that what needs to be done will be done. But industrially, resources-wise, they cannot produce bulk, and especially the bulk which matters in the modern war. And I'm not talking about drones, although Russia produces everybody combined, in terms of the combat drones. It's not that. If you look attentively at the recent spread of, for example, United Kingdom, military, they gave up everything, all self-propelled guns, all kinds of things of the APCs, what have you, all towed artillery pieces to Ukraine, all have been, of course, annihilated. What do you have in terms of UK army? Naked. I mean, a bunch of guys with the, rifles. That's pretty much it. So goes the, toward the only place in Europe which really matters a little bit. It's France, because it has the independent nuclear deterrent, and that's the only thing they have. In terms of their army or air force or ground forces, it is the same Chihuahua as basically Bundeswehr, just a little bit more, a little bit better. And when you go across the whole European, so to speak, thing, they are capable of producing false flags, killing civilians, trying to pretend that they can block Kaliningrad Oblast. So it's all games to placate the bunch of the hoi polloi who, in Europe, who wanted this. They were voting for this for the last 30 years. And now when it came down to what is basically shaping itself to be total economic decline, of Europe, look at Germany. It's literally rushing towards the gates of hell. It's literally rushing towards the soup kitchens, okay? Same gonna happen with France. United Kingdom, look what is happening in United Kingdom. These are not nations in the classic sense anymore. These are multicultural cloacas where the native population of those, traditional European people is basically being not exterminated, but completely beaten down. They're brainwashed, and the only thing they care about, which is understandable, they need to survive economically, and we just at the start of it. I mean, it's accelerating, and it's going to get much worse until Europe completely, basically, fades out into the second world status. The high crime, lawlessness, very low standard of living. So all kinds of things, and it's already happening. And when you look at, as I already stated, the European cities, good Lord, it's horrible.
Yeah. Then when they're talking about the arm production and ammunition, they basically are talking about the United States military industrial complex. The main
That's the only thing they know.
line is the United States. Europeans are not that much.
No, they are not.
Capable of producing
They're not a real factor, realistically. But then again, do not forget, this whole crop of European so-called statesmen, they're not statesmen. They are not even good politicians. They are a bunch of the kindergarten, children, basically. That's their whole worldview is shaped by, oh yeah, we have the United States behind the pond. Those guys will come and defend us against those nasty Ruskies who want to steal our whatever, I don't know, garbage, dumpsters. So, and suddenly when they recognize that the United States is a paper tiger, some of them begin, they're panicking. So did you see the number of the tanks and APCs annihilated throughout the 39 months of special military operation? I can tell you, 26,000. And out of those 26,000, only about 3,000 Ukrainian tanks and about the same number of the APCs. Where are those other 20,000 came from? Well, I can tell you, first they basically stripped everything bare naked from the former Warsaw Pact countries, and then they started to ship what they have. How many Bradleys? Thousands. All kinds of the Western equipment. It was just absolutely obliterated. And they, every day, those morons and their generals who are utterly incompetent, they were waiting that, oh yeah, Putin's regime is about to collapse. And you have this all kinds of the amateurs, they call them for some reason intelligence people. They were continuing to delivering them what is called intel from Kiev. So if you are at that level and you believe that, so that means what? You are not professional. And I can tell you that NATO militaries are not professional militaries. They are a joke, especially ground forces. And so now they are in panic and absolutely desperate when they see what is going on. And for some reason, Putin's regime is not falling. It's, I don't know, Russian economy was supposed to go, to hell. And it's not going to hell. Russians ramping up all kinds of production and economy is doing great. And they, so you have now this clown, pardon my French, from White House who, 150 times United States can destroy the world. The tariffs, so China told him to go pound sand, and China has its own leverage, over Trump. Then you have India. So what do you expect? Those morons were studying the Israeli experience in warfare. Really? They don't even know the history of the World War II. It's all confabulated fairy tales about how General Patton was ready to defeat everybody, and as the result, we came to the bankruptcy of the whole system, and the economic system doesn't work. It never worked since 2008, and we have another bubble with the so-called AI. The AI doesn't exist. There's no such thing as artificial intelligence. They obviously don't understand what neural networks are. And so it's another bubble which is basically bursting right now. Everything is a bubble. It's all fake. It's all about those zeros in their, computers. In reality, however, bar some important things. For example, Europe still can produce excellent, commercial aircraft, so no doubt about it. I mean, Airbus, but again, it's consortium. It's not French. Airbus is the consortium of the European states. But other than that, what? Overpriced junk of the, what's the name of it? German cars? Oh, well, as Minister of Economy of Germany 2 weeks ago, no, 10 days ago, about that, she comes out and says, her name Reich, no less. She says, Germany ceased to be competitive. Of course, it ceased actually to be competitive long time ago. And you look attentively, even Siemens, as correctly stated, Siemens, not just rolling stock, it doesn't matter, anymore, or turbines. That famous, Siemens MRI machines, CT scans and all that. Most of those parts actually are not made in Germany anymore. They are delivered from China, from Asia, So it's like, seriously, guys, and you really pretend that you matter now. They don't.
Andrei, 2 days ago, one of the key points in what Putin said was the national unity is the foundation of Russian sovereignty. And he was pointing out that the foreign provocateurs are trying to weaken Russia by manipulating ethnic tensions.
Yeah.
What is that? What is the main evidence, and what is he talking about? And who is trying to do this? Is that he's talking about Europeans, or the United States has some sort of role in that as well?
Both. I mean, it's standard practice. If I would have been some moron with degree in literature from MI6, what do you do? So they say, oh yeah, you need to destabilize Russia. Okay, those people, they are one-cell organisms. They know how to probably kill a child or woman or somebody else, assassinate, things of this nature. But you have those clowns from Chatham House. What do? Russia has 180 nationalities, ethnicities. So what are we going to do? Let's basically wedge as they tried in 1990s. Those people are not very bright. They are basically monkeys. They do the patterns. They repeat things. They think that worked. Well, in reality, they don't understand what was actually happening. And so what they do is, let's stoke the tensions. So how do you do this? Oh, let's throw in the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. France, all kinds of the Carnegie foundations for all kinds of democracy. So what do we do? Let's pump money into this. Let's stoke tensions between, let's say, Russians and Chechens, or between Tatars and Chechens, or between Dagestanis and Russians, or what have you. So how do you do it? Let's emphasize their ethnic crime, which definitely does exist. Make no mistake. You always have to kind of press the, painful points, but it's not nowhere near in terms of the scale, So, and as a result, they try, and Vladimir Putin absolutely correctly stated, but Russia is a multinational state. But what those morons do not understand, because it's beyond their experiences. For example, if you take a guy from CIA or MI6, they have to read the Russian constitution, okay? And there is a very important clause there. And that's why, for example, Russians and Tatars, for example, or Bashkirs are essentially brotherly people, totally different religions. Bashkirs and Tatars are, they are Muslims. Russians are obviously primarily either atheist or Orthodox Christians, but they have been living together for 500 years now, almost. So, and shoulder to shoulder, and of course there's all this black sheep anywhere, but the problem they don't understand, the Russian constitution actually singles out Russian ethnicity as the state founding people. They don't understand that, for example, as Tatars or Bashkirs or many other nationalities understand, as Mr. Abtial Audinov, Lieutenant General, hero of Russia, Chechen, legendary, he is actually deputy commander of the main political directorate of Russian armed forces. He spoke about it 2 years ago, said, Russians, please, just procreate. You can read his speech. It's actually in the news. And he said, without you, there will be no Russia. these are the Chechen guy who says, Russians, you have to procreate. And that's what is happening. But these guys don't understand this, that in Russia, it is universally accepted, bar some French, obviously, as always, that without Russians, there will be no Russia. Okay? And this is the paradigm no American or European politicians can exist with, because they need to suck up to every single multicultural entity. Well, in United States, obviously, they are all basically subverted by Israel. So they basically work. United States doesn't have Congress. It has Knesset 2.0. But that's what it is. And for some people to say that, oh my gosh, this is the state founding peoples, and we have to kind of coalesce, get around them, and live in peace and prosperity. It's alien. It's absolutely alien concept for all those people, especially from those essentially degree meal products like whatever, who go and work in the CIA, MI6, what have you, trying to stoke those ethnic tensions. Sometimes they get lucky to do something locally, which is absolutely normal, but the overall mass of because many people don't understand. There is Ruski, which is Russian, like me. I'm not Russianian. I'm not a Russian citizen, but I'm Ruski. I'm Russian. So this Russian, which is the ethnically, that it's like in Iran. Iran also has Azerbaijanis, many Azerbaijanis, and there are, so there are Persians and there are Azerbaijanis, But if everybody puts them together like Iranians, but there is a very strict, kind of, separation line that people know, oh, you're Azeri, or you're Persian, so the same in Russia. Oh, you're Russian. Oh, you're Tatar. But overall, when you look at the entity itself, the state, it's Russia, Россия, so it's multi-ethnic, multicultural, but with the 80%, more than 80% of this country being represented by the people like me. All kinds of iterations of Ruskiye, which is a Russian, ethnically, culturally, and things of this nature. And so, as the result, there will be attempts to stoke all kinds of the ethnic tensions. As I already stated, they may get lucky, some locality, some village, or some rayon district. But other than that, Vladimir Putin is absolutely correct that the day of the unity, and again, listen to what Avti Alaudinov speaks about, and he is hugely popular in Russia, and he's a Chechen, So there you go. That's and he represents the Russian armed forces with distinction, and he is a big time post in political directorate of Russian army. So yeah, and Russians are aware of what they will be trying to do.
Andrei, I literally believe that one of the main issues that we see in the United States toward Russia, China, Iran, many countries, they feel that they can divide the countries. They can break down countries in, provinces, federations, name it. And they don't get it when it comes, when they attacked Iran, they had the same feeling. You attack Iran, they're gonna, go out against the government, and the house of cards would collapse, and everything gonna be. They literally believe that. That's hugely dangerous, because
it is dangerous.
They're not gonna back down.
Western humanities education is primarily fraud. All those PhDs from Georgetown, from Stanford, look at Michael McFaul, look at Sarah Payne, who teaches strategy, the woman who never commanded a squad in her life, and she teaches strategy in the U.S. Naval War College, things like that. They are frauds. They know absolutely nothing. They write their PhD thesis about some minute minutiae, essentially, of some issue. Most of it is confabulated. If you look attentively at American and Western military history, it's like French. They invented this because they shamed themselves to the rest of their, existence of France with basically, submitting to Hitler. And now they invented this. Oh yeah, France's shield, France's sword, things, those concepts. Guys, you have been actually beaten down like, chihuahuas within 40 days by Wehrmacht. and only de Gaulle's, division, and then whatever very limited in size French, Free French, who departed for Britain, have been fighting back. The rest of it, you existed just fine, under Germans. So this is everything. When you have this confabulated history, you have morons for scholars like Brzezinski, okay, the guy whiteboard, abstract Russophobe. He was fanatical Russophobe, so that as the result, everything he was writing about this is so they invented this useless, which is not science, political science thing. There's no such science as political science. You have basically good old boys and girls from all those families go to Ivy League to get their connections there for future political careers. For the most part, they are morons. There are some exceptions, but professors who teach them, they are also morons. So, and as the result, what do you expect? And as your model could be perfect, but if you put garbage in, you're gonna get out garbage. You basically garbage out. And this is exactly what is happening. This is exactly what happened, especially in the last 30 years. These guys, for some reason, believe that, let's say, this mythology that, Afghanistan broke, Soviet Union's back. No, it had nothing to do with collapse of the Soviet Union. Do you want to study the real reasons? Maybe some of them, like, from Chatham House or MI6 say, oh yeah, ethnic tensions. Yes, they played a huge role, but it was the model, it was the whole thing, which was corruption of the part nomenclature, which actually was the whole thing. Soviet Union possibly could have outlasted United States, if not for Gorbachev, who was essentially nothing more than a traitor. But this is not how things worked as they present them. Everything was much more complex, much more nuanced. Those people don't know that. And mostly, overwhelming majority of the so-called intellectual elite of the West, they do not understand applied geopolitics because they have no clue about the thing which is the foundational to all the processes in the world, which is, of course, the geopolitical balance of power, based, of course, on the military industrial capability of the nations. They cannot define it because they all believe in Wall Street economy, that is to say what? Well, Ponzi scheme, that's what it is. And as the result, you have this reproduction of cretins, basically, who get into all kinds of administrations, political positions, and then suddenly they begin to feel that the world around them does not really work as they were told. It's cognitive dissonance. And then once their cognitive dissonance becomes dramatic, you can have mental breakdown, and many do. And for example, you had this lawyer, Blinken, and another moron with political science degree, Sullivan, who they didn't understand actually ramifications of what they were doing, They thought that, they will survive. Somebody told them, oh no, Russian missiles don't fly. Oh no, everything you see is wrong. And then, you have this, and every time they count how many weeks there is left for Putin's regime, for Russians to collapse, to implode, and take their whole journalist corps from Great Britain or mainstream media in United States. They are war criminals primarily. All kinds of deviants, all kinds of, perverts, and they hate Russian gods. They hate Russian gods because there's a lot of huge LGBTQ, whatever the hell, element is in there. What is Russia? Constitution of Russia says there's only two genders, man and a woman, and there's a family, which is man and a woman, and so they hate Russians for that. So they will come up with all kinds of the fantasies just to alleviate the, essentially behind, which hurts now because everything they knew is garbage. I've been on record for this for the second decade now. Everything you know about the world is garbage. You know nothing about it. And as the result, but that's American education, basically, most of it. I'm not talking about STEM. There are still very decent STEM schools in the United States. But that's what the degree mills, which prepare so-called political elite. And I wouldn't allow them to run 7-Eleven store.
The propaganda is killing the West, Andrei. You remember washing machines?
It's over. It's not killing. It's over. It's over. It's just a matter of how this will be arranged now And Russia has to constantly keep in mind that there are a bunch of fanatics and morons in Washington, D.C., who some of them are Israeli firsters, Christian Zionists, dispensationalists. They would love to see the world going in flames, because they want to live eternal life next to Jesus, or maybe who knows. And so these are morons. They're cretins, basically. And they literally have no inhibitions of unleashing the, World War III. Apart from the fact that they do not, no American knows what real war is, including the American military, which never fought a real one since the World War II. Well, since Korea, essentially. So, and as a result, what do you have? You have to tread, waters very cautiously, because cornered rat is always dangerous. It can jump on you and bite, but in this particular case the stakes are too high. Russia has to consider the fact that there are some, who knows, maybe there will be military coup somehow, or some kind of coup in the United States. Some fanatics will come in, and and again, do not forget, the United States doesn't have the real independent sovereign foreign policy. It is run by Israel, essentially Israeli forces and AIPAC and all those Christian Zionists, who their loyalty not to the United States and not to American people. Their loyalty is to Israel.
Andrei, today Donald Trump is hosting, the leaders of 5 Central Asian nations, and Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
What is, Andrei? It's all about the resources in this region. What are they seeking for? Because when it comes to Nigeria, somehow Donald Trump is concerned about the Christians in Nigeria.
Yeah. He is so concerned about Christians that well, I mean, it's always was the case. They always tried to basically woo all those utterly corrupt. All of the leaders of the republics, former republics, which your stands are corrupt. Their republics are really economically basket cases, except for the resources. And they will be trying to do what is Russians say the multi-vector policies, like Erdogan. They think that they can squeeze something out of it, but no, Trump will be trying to also, stick in there some kind of the military base, what have you. So again, do not forget, these are not the brightest leaders, to put it mildly. They are staying in power there due to the corruption clans which are there. These are essentially medieval societies which are dressed up, as the modern countries. But reality, in Tajikistan, corruption is everywhere. It's corrupt to the core. So is actually the case with essentially those Uzbekistans and all that. So they are also going to the United States to probe the water, so to speak, to see what they can gain from that. And they will be trying to play the typical Dimitrov role, which is trying to sit on both chairs, So Russians are aware of that. So, but it's very easy to make their life miserable if they kind of deviate. So, and
I think they have to learn from Azerbaijan.
It's
these are,
if they don't get the message. And keep in mind, many people do not understand that there is wisdom and there is an intellect and there is being cunning. Those people are primarily cunning. Okay, there's very little intellect there. They are, oh my God, many of them are basically from former party nomenclature. So what do you expect? So they learn only how to hold on to power in terms of the actual development of the countries. If you look attentively, I mean, good Lord, it's just not good. Okay, not good. They will continue to exist as those type of the societies, but you cannot change it there. So
By the way, I think the concerns are growing in Central Asia, and I am sure that there is a lot of talk among Russia, China, Iran about how to
there's a lot. Yeah. And so there is also Afghanistan there, which has to be considered, and Russians were working diligently to kind of alleviate the issue of their instability, especially since Pakistan is America's client, and it will do as it said, as they try to unleash war against Taliban essentially. And so, but yeah, it was all this complex. Eventually they will, I think, I could be wrong again, make no mistake. But eventually, once this generation, the crop of the so-called cunning, hard man in power goes away, you can basically observe the complete Islamization and radicalization of many of those societies. And unless we're not talking about Turkmenistan, which is there, good Lord, it's 1984 there, for crying out loud, with the Middle Asian twist. It's a bizarre society. North Korea seems freer than Turkmenistan. Okay, let me put it this way. It's just unbelievable. It's surreal, honestly.
I didn't know that.
Oh, good Lord. Look up Turkmenistan. It's just...
Mostly these are, these Salafis and these radical.
Yeah.
And they're,
they listen. Fergana Valley, which was one, many people do not understand. Brzezinski, as most American politicians, they basically thrive on stealing valor. We defeated this, and they steal valor. And also Brzezinski loved to point out that it was the trap, of the Soviet Union and Afghanistan. What many people do not understand, actually, that the issue was gestating there even before Brzezinski it was anybody, especially in Carter administration, that the Islamization and radicalization of the Fergana Valley was happening already since the late 60s. And there was a constant, flow of not only the narcotics and things of this nature, but also radical ideologies, and as you correctly stated, Salafists and all that. So, and Afghanistan was the source of it, So, and it didn't matter whom you would put in charge. That is why many people say it was. Union didn't collapse because of Afghanistan, and in many respects, not all, it was the reaction to what was happening at that time in the Soviet Middle Asian republics. And oh boy, I can tell the stories, so let me put it this way. So, and that's what it is. But we created trap. No, not really. So Soviet Union knew what was happening. Even Politburo knew what was happening. Politburo knew who Brzezinski was. Everybody knew that. It was just the fact that it was the soft underbelly of Soviet Union, and this, as later events has shown, practically starting from Kazakhstan in 1986 and later, the Islam-driven nationalist movements have been gestating there, and much of it was going through the financing and support from Afghanistan and Arab world. And so, there's a lot of things which many people do not like to talk about in the American scholarly circles, but now only one, actually, colonel of the U.S. Army, Lester Grau, correctly stated, Soviet Union never lost the war in Afghanistan. It's actually just withdrew when it decided that there was no point of, maintaining that type of the military presence. And as late Ahmad Shah Massoud himself stated, if we would have known what was coming, meaning Taliban and whatever, we would not have resisted. Well, he was assassinated by Arab basically intelligence services on behalf of we know who. And so he was a hope for Afghanistan.
He was a hope, exactly. He was a hope, yeah.
And that is why he was assassinated. And it's too freaking bad that GRU and FSB didn't have the chance then to provide, proper security for him. And so, and that changed the fate of Afghanistan.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Andrei, for being with us today. Great pleasure, as always.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.